Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of History Through KSP. Today we will be looking at the YB-49 jet-powered heavy bomber prototype. If you stick around till the end, I have bonus footage of the other version of this plane, the YB-35, which is pretty sweet, so I'd stick around. Here you can see me building it at 4 times speed. It took me about an hour to build and test, so totally doable for most people who know how to make planes in KSP. Alright, so let's dive into the interesting history of this groundbreaking flying wing. Alright, so the YB-49 development started in late 1944 after major delays in the YB-35 program caused it to be canceled, and so they moved on to the YB-49 at request from the Air Force. It used the same airframe as the YB-35 but now incorporated new jet technology of the time. The first YB flew on October 22nd, 1947 at the Northrop Airfield in California. To the military surprise, the YB-49 set an unofficial endurance record of staying continually above 40,000 feet for 6.5 hours, which is so long. The plane's range was unfortunately cut in half because of these engines they put on it. They're super inefficient at the time, so the U.S. Air Force actually went ahead with the B-47 Stratojet, which was overall a much better aircraft at the time. Surprisingly, in 1979, it was revealed that all flying wing contracts had been canceled because Northrop refused to merge with competitor Convair, which is nuts, and it was requested by the Secretary of the Air Force. His last name was Stewart, and it was a huge ruckus for Northrop and Convair. Up on the screen now are some general specifications. I'll leave them up there so you can get an idea of the size of this beast. Ironically, or not so much, because they're both from the same company, the wingspan of the YB-49 is the exact same as the B-2 bomber the U.S. military still uses today. So within this aircraft's wings, I'm not really sure, it had 8 J-35 turbojets powering it, which is just insane for 1947. That's a lot of engines in an aircraft that was a prototype to see if the flying wing would work. A cool fact I found about this plane is that in 1953, in the film War of the Worlds, the one, with Tom Cruise, they remade it. In this 1953 version, when they nuked the aliens, they actually had the nuke being dropped from a YB-49, which I thought was pretty interesting. Never thought this thing would make it into Hollywood. The performance of this machine was also ahead of its time, minus its range. Up on the screen are some performance indicators to give you a better picture of what I mean. You may have noticed that the max speed is extremely high for a heavy bomber, as only the B-47 Stratojet could match that at the time. The range dropped significantly when loaded up for combat missions, which is about 10,000 pounds of payload, as you can see from the graphic. If you're observing, I am kind of avoiding facts related to military aspects of this plane. That's only because I'm truly interested in the other awesome aspects of this plane and that don't relate to killing other people. And if you'd like a full rundown, I can really recommend just going to Google. I hope you guys understand my reasoning. I just really like the technology and looking into that. And I totally understand. I did the V1 and V2, and I should have removed all the stuff related to war, and that's why I'm doing it going forward. Alright, and so now you guys can see we're going off for takeoff. Oh, that was horrible. This thing came out amazing, I think. Even the YB-35 did as well. It has a great thrust-to-weight ratio, making it a very agile aircraft in KSP. It wasn't so much in real life just because it was new technology. They really didn't know how to keep it level and flying well. There was 2 or 3 accidents with the aircraft that killed pilots. So it wasn't a very stable aircraft at the time, and pilots were not really happy to be flying it. In this game, it's way too agile. I pull enough G's to kill a human, but thank goodness that Kerbals are resilient little buggers in this game. As I jet over the KSP center. Yeah, this thing was fun to build. It came out super accurate to what I wanted it to be, and it stayed together really well. You can see that the wings aren't clipping too much, and they're all really stable. Now we're going to look into the aerodynamic forces, which F12, if you didn't know in KSP, if you hit that, the aerodynamic forces will pop up, and you can see where gravity's coming, the wind. You can see the yellow marks going to the left and right on the back because of the wind. This will really help you be able to fly planes and show you where you're getting your lift, your thrust, where your drag is. They're very helpful indicators, and I recommend using them to help you build your aircraft, to be honest. SAS also makes this thing very controllable. Just it's kind of cheating, didn't have that in the real world. And so now we're going to go into kind of a new segment I'm going to call What If. And so Afterburners weren't actually a feature on this plane, but in KSP it is for me, you know, because why not? Let's have some fun. Afterburners are complete overkill in this game. As you can see, the rate of climb is insane. I can pretty much make it a suborbital aircraft, and so I kind of like this to see like how far we can push a plane design, because the aerodynamics are pretty similar to real world. It's just we increase the thrust 8-fold probably. Yep, and there we go. The engine's lost air. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys a cool little landing. Messing around a little bit. We gotta do one big loop that would for sure pass out any pilot. And then my landing's meh. I'm pretty good at it. Sometimes I get lazy. This time it turned out pretty well. I think I landed it fairly good. Little tweaks. Then I'm trying to just kill some speed off with those big bursts up and then brakes. And a little spin out because the brakes had a little bit too much traction and force on them. Ooh, if you guys made it to the end, here's the YB-49. Yeah, so this is the first time I've ever used rotors, so it was a really tough build for me. And unfortunately, my dumbass deleted the craft file, so I can't go back and take more videos or footage of it, and I do not want to spend 2 more hours working on this. This was one of the hardest builds. I actually learned how to use the propellers and the crankshafts to make this video because I really wanted to replicate it, and it turned out perfect. It flies roughly around the same speed as the real YB-49. It looks extremely similar. There's a little eclipse for you guys. Enjoy that view. And thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope the mic sounds a little bit better. I hope I'm not as loud of a breather. I'm really enjoying this content. I'm really getting to the flow of this YouTube thing, and I love it as a no-pressure hobby. And I just love KSP and teaching people about really cool old aircraft. I'm excited to release things coming soon about ADHD and talking about that and diving into that. And some more KSP if you guys like it. But until then, stay focused, my friends.